Before genocide, I was still younger. From my family, I lost 6, my brother, and then I lost all this family.
The most devastating circumstances can yield the most powerful forms of hope.
Hi, I'm Drake, interviewing T.C. Johnstone for his new movie, Rising from Ashes.
Thanks, Drake. Thanks for having me.
Could you tell us about Rising from Ashes and what you hope people will leave the theater feeling after it?
You know, Rising from Ashes is the story of 5 genocide survivors that I met in 2005 who had a passion for the bike, and they really wanted to see themselves rise from the ashes of their situation and maybe one day even go to the Olympics. And what we really hope people will come away with on this film is that everybody deserves a second chance, and that, you know, hope is an amazing ride.
During the 1994 genocide, many of the cyclists of Team Rwanda were small children. For 11 years, these young cyclists had lived in the aftermath of one of modern-day history's most devastating genocides.
You could see how much hope the bike gave them, because it was their way out.
Have you shown it to the team yet?
We have shown it to the team. They really like it. They're fun to watch it with because they laugh a lot. They laugh and chuckle, and they have all kinds of inside jokes that they tell me after we watch it every time.
Wow. What did they think of it?
They really like it. You know, I think the biggest honor was after they saw it for the first time. They said everybody in our country needs to see this to know that they have a second chance.
Have you shown it like all over Rwanda yet, or in some places?
Nope, we have not started showing it all over Rwanda. They'll do a big premiere in Rwanda in the next few months, but overall, it's we're just kind of slowly releasing it and figuring out, you know, what exactly, where's the opportunity in it.
So our school's theme this year is Larger Voices Calling. This film took many years to complete. What was a larger voice that kept you going in the movie while you're filming the movie?
Sure. Drake, you know, it's kind of fun to be part of something bigger than yourself, something that really, you know, you're doing something that you couldn't do alone, and at the end of the day, it's going to be, hopefully have some impact in the world, and that matters.
In the Q&A, you said that you took out the scenes of the Rwandan guys discovering America, like when they went and bought clothes. Why did those scenes not make the final cut?
You know, for 2 reasons. One, it got really long. The America scene was really long, and 2 is looking back, I would probably put more in there because it was kind of humorous. However, there was so many neat new discoveries. It was I couldn't really. I needed to trim some things. That was the first stuff to go. However, there was so many neat moments where they're just discovering everything from they had never been to the doctor before, they'd never been to the dentist. They, you know, got new clothes for the first time. You know, I got to go on a shopping spree. They got all these different things that really were funny. But it also works as great advertising too, so we'll put it on the website and people can see the journey, you know, the behind the scenes part.
When one of our past teams interviewed Ken Burns, he said that some of his best scenes end up on the cutting room floor and never make it to the final cut of the movie. What scenes are on your floor that were really hard to cut?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the backstory of the hardest pieces to cut on this film were the pieces that over 7 years so much happened, and you're trying to condense all that into an hour and a half. So I think a lot of that was we were only able to really touch on the things that could make the cut, but the journey these guys had gone through of losing family and friends and all these different things, those are the hard things to cut because it really signified exactly what these guys have overcome.
Yeah. Our school did a lot of working supporting Project Rwanda in its early years. Is there a reason there are no coffee bikes in Rising from Ashes?
Sure, the coffee bike was a different initiative, and for this film we really, when you're telling a story, you have to stick with the storyline.
Yeah.
And for this, is when we got into talking about the coffee bike, people couldn't figure out the difference. What's the difference between the coffee bike and the team? And so it was easier to stay with one story that we knew that people could stick with for the course of an hour and a half.
I would have liked to have seen and heard more about the Rwandan guys' genocide stories. Is there a reason why there wasn't more of that in the film?
Yes, two reasons. One was that the first was that I really wanted to talk about the future and not the past.
Yeah.
And two, it was very difficult for them to. For instance, for Adrian just to tell me his version of the story in an authentic way, it took almost 2.5 hours, and he didn't give me that. We didn't discuss it for 5 years, and part of that was just respecting their vision for wanting to move forward, and also I was more interested in where. Well, and then the other piece of it was that Jock's story became very interesting too.
Yeah.
So I had to give screen time for both.
In 2005, Jock Boyer, one of the best cyclists in the world, moved to Rwanda to begin building a team.
After I spent time with the riders, it really started to hit me. They've been through hell. Cycling is suffering. You cannot be a cyclist without going through incredible amounts of pain.
Abraham, Rafiki, and the Rwandan guys don't show as much emotion as Jock in the film. Is that how they were, or is that how you wanted to focus the story?
No, they're kind of happy-go-lucky. They're pretty simple guys. They're not, at the end of the day, they're not, Rafiki probably laughs more than anything else, and I think I've only seen him get very emotional twice in my 7 years of knowing him. So they're just kind of, I think they've just seen a lot, and so it's probably hard to get them shaken up, but yeah, and Jock was just, he became more of a central character. Him and Adrian's story became the central theme.
The guys talk about coming back from America and how some treated them as rich people. Abraham even lost his wife, and one of his children. Could you tell us more about that story?
Yeah, and one of the things that happened when they came back from America is that they'd been starting to get paid, they had new bikes, they had new clothes. When you show up in Rwanda with all that stuff, people start asking questions. They start to say, hey, what is the deal here? And so, a big thing is jealousy, is that people get jealous of other people. What we've had to kind of learn now as the team has been developing is how do we communicate with their villages and those things to allow people to know that the assistance that they're bringing is there to help the whole community. It's not just for them, that they want to be, there's a huge value in being generous, and when you have a lot of wealth, being able to share that with the people that you've walked with your whole life is an important thing. So that was a big piece of it, and it's just the reality of Rwanda. It's a tough place.
Adrian is our biggest hope.
Adrian Nyanshuti became the first cyclist of the original 5 to ride professionally for one of Africa's top cycling teams.
He's going to be a contender. Qualifying for the Olympics would completely change Adrian's life.
Welcome, the world's finest athletes.
The music went from traditional Rwandan music at the beginning to American popular music at the end. Could you explain how you chose your music?
Yeah, it was stuff I liked. I thought it drove the story, and I thought it played into telling the story in an authentic way.
One of the sayings on our school's bike jersey is "Go with gratitude." Who would you like to thank for rising from the ashes?
Yeah, to make this film, it was a big deal. I think the first person would be my wife, to really. She endured a lot of me being gone, and just making a film like this is, when you're looking at genocide photos all day long and you're hearing people who have just gone through devastation. It's easy when it's really far away, but when it becomes close, when you know people, it's really difficult because you start to care for them. So I think emotionally it was very difficult. My wife walked through that with me. Then there's just guys like Pep Jackson, Dan Cooper, our executive producers, John and Linda Halbert, who took a chance on financing this kind of wild, crazy movie, and all those people, and one person in particular that I wouldn't have been able to make this movie without was my producer, Greg Cuidar. He was huge. He really made this movie happen for me. So those are good people.
Thank you so much for the chance to interview you.
Oh, thank you, Drake.
It's the tipping point where the generations to come will really be able to succeed. Team Rwanda can give them an image of where they can go.